Welcome back, everyone. They say there's always a rainbow after the rain, even when the passing storm leaves behind deep wounds and utter devastation. It's been a few months since the heartbreaking tragedy struck their little kitchen, taking away the precious little life that Huyen and Diem had been longing for. The wooden house was once submerged in a heavy silence, weighed down by the agonizing sighs of a mother who lost her child, and the blank, helpless gaze of a father. But life has to go on, and true love is the most miraculous medicine to heal any wound. The former billionaire, CEO, bravely set aside his own pain, using his rough hands to step by step pull his devoted wife out of the swamp of despair. Today, Sim Hill welcomes the warm sunlight of spring. When Ton saw Diem's sad eyes linger on the rotting, dilapidated bamboo gate in front of their house, he decided it was time for a change. A new project begins building a sturdy new wooden gate and planting the most vibrant floral arch to welcome the good things to come. This gate isn't just to protect the house, it's a symbol of rebirth. It's a promise to close the door on past traumas and open a bright, colorful new chapter. So sit back, relax, and brew yourself a soothing pot of chamomile tea as we dive into today's deeply healing, long and profound episode. The Gate of Rebirth and the Floral Arch, healing the bleeding heart of the Lady of Sim Hill. If you admire this couple's resilience, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to spread this positive energy. Let the story begin. Spring has arrived at Sim Hill, bringing with it green sprouts pushing up from the damp earth after a long, freezing winter. Early in the morning, Ton made a warm glass of lotus seed milk and quietly stepped out onto the porch. Diem was sitting there on the old rattan chair, wrapped in a thin cardigan. Her eyes stared off into the distance toward the end of the cobblestone path they had once worked so hard to pave together. Down there, the bamboo gate woven from fragile stalks was now rotting and leaning heavily after the harsh winter storms. A few broken bamboo sticks hung down sadly, mirroring the exact mood of the homeowner. Over the past few months, Diem had grown much quieter, even though the pain of losing their child had eased somewhat thanks to Ton's tender care. Sometimes in the quiet moments you could still catch Diem secretly wiping away a tear. She was afraid of old things, afraid of dark corners, and even afraid of the run-down gate, the boundary between her safe haven and the outside world. Ton walked over and gently placed the glass of milk in his wife's hands. He wrapped his large, warm hands completely around Diem's freezing ones. "Sweetheart, what are you thinking about so deeply? Take a sip of milk to warm up." Diem softly rested her head against her husband's hip, her eyes still fixed on the gate. "Ton, our gate is completely falling apart. One gust of wind and it sways. Looking at it, I just feel so desolate and empty. It feels like our home doesn't have any life left to hold it together." Hearing his wife's weak voice, Tuan's heart skipped a painful beat. The former CEO, who used to make thousands of billion-dollar strategic decisions, was now completely defeated by his wife's heartbroken gaze. He understood that the rotting gate was reflecting the exact devastation inside Diem's soul. Tuan squatted down in front of her, looking straight into those clear but sorrowful eyes. His voice was deep, warm, and absolutely unwavering. "Then let's tear it down. Let's get rid of that old ruined gate. Today, CEO Tuan is going to personally design and build his lady a brand new, rock-solid wooden gate. An arched gate so you can grow thousands of climbing roses over it. Do you want to wake up every morning, open the door, and see a sky full of flowers smelling so sweet it chases away all the gloom? At the mention of a floral arch, Diem's eyes flickered slightly. A tiny, warm spark lit up. She looked up at Tone and gave a soft nod. Yes, I want to plant climbing roses, fairy roses vibrant but resilient. Tuan smiled gently, brushing a stray lock of hair away from her forehead. As long as she wanted it, even if she asked for the stars, he would find a ladder to reach them. The construction of the Gate of Rebirth had officially begun. After a quick breakfast, Tone immediately got to work. He went all the way down to the carpentry workshop at the foot of the mountain, using their last savings to buy logs of South African ironwood and chochi wood types of wood, famous for withstanding the elements and termites, tough as steel. The area in front of the gate suddenly turned into a miniature construction site. Tone took off his shirt, wearing only an old frayed pair of khaki shorts. Under the pale spring sun, the muscles rippled on the man's sweat-glistening back. Buzz! Buzz! The roaring sound of the chainsaw tearing through wood echoed out, waking up the quiet atmosphere of Sim Hill. Tone meticulously measured and cut the large logs into 2 thick, perfectly square pillars. Diem was no longer curled up in bed. The energetic sounds of her husband hard at work had drawn her outside. Wearing a low-brimmed conical hat, she carried out a pitcher of green tea mixed with wild honey, set it on a stone slab, and busied herself gathering wood scraps for firewood. Diem, come here and help me hold this tape measure so I can snap a chalk line, Tone called out loudly, drowning out the rustling wind. Diem ran over, holding the end of the metal tape measure tightly with both hands. Tone pulled the other end taut and snapped a string soaked in black ink, creating a perfectly straight line across the wood. They were standing very close to each other now, the salty smell of Tone's sweat mixed with the strong, fragrant scent of fresh sawdust. Diem pulled her familiar checkered scarf from her pocket, stood on her tiptoes, and wiped the beads of sweat racing down her husband's forehead and sun-tanned cheeks. Take it easy, take a break, and have a sip of water before you exhaust yourself. These wooden pillars are huge. How can you dig the holes all by yourself? Diem asked sympathetically. Tuan took the glass of tea from his wife, downed it in one gulp, and laughed heartily. This is nothing. I used to manage thousands of employees. The pressure was 100 times worse. Now just digging 2 holes for the pillars and building a gate for my wife to admire. I feel like I've got boundless energy. You just stand in the shade and supervise. Leave the heavy lifting to master builder Tone. And Tone really did. Gripping the heavy pickaxe, he swung it down powerfully into the hard clay. His hands, once accustomed to signing billion-dollar contracts, were now blistered and bleeding around the calluses, but he didn't utter a single complaint. With every swing of the pickaxe, it was as if he was digging away the sorrow and darkness of the past, excavating a new deep and solid foundation to protect the woman he loved. After a day and a half of grueling work, the 2 ironwood pillars, as thick as an arm's embrace, were buried deep and securely in the ground, with concrete poured at the base to lock them in place. Even a Category 12 hurricane wouldn't be able to budge this gate. Next came assembling the 2 gate doors and the top arch. Tone didn't build a solid closed-off gate like the villas in the city. He made a slatted wooden gate, painted a warm chestnut brown. On top, he skillfully bent and joined small wooden slats together to form a beautiful arch. This was exactly what he designed, so the climbing roses would have a place to latch onto and grow upward. When it came time to install the hinges, Diem was the one who helped Tuan lift the gate doors. Even though she wasn't strong, she insisted on putting her shoulder to it, sharing the weight of the heavy wood with her husband. 1, 2, 3. up. Click the hinge pins locked together perfectly. The heavy wooden gate slowly closed and opened smooth and sturdy, letting out a deep, reassuring click-clack instead of the eerie creaking of the old bamboo gate. Tone took 3 steps back, crossed his arms, and admired his handiwork. He wiped a smudge of dirt from his face and turned to pull DM into his arms. The frame is done. From now on, let this gate block out all the storms outside. Inside this boundary, there is only peace, and your smile, sweetheart. DM reached out and touched the smooth wood grain, feeling its sturdiness through her fingertips. She rested her cheek against Toan's shoulder, and a faint smile finally bloomed on her lips after those long, dark days. The sheer strength of the gate made her feel completely safe. The carpentry was finished. Now it was time for Sim Hill to get a splash of color, and this was Lady DM's area of expertise. Early the next morning, Tone drove DM all the way to the nursery in town. They carefully picked out 4 mature Tuong V climbing rose plants, a variety known for its fierce vitality, blooming year-round in vibrant, deep pink clusters with a rich, captivating scent. Along with those, DM picked out some pure white daisies and petunias to plant at the base of the gate pillars. Back home, DM rolled up her sleeves and began the process of breathing life into the wooden gate. Tone loosened the soil on both sides of the pillars, mixing in cinder worm castings and charred rice husks to make the soil porous and nutrient-rich. DM carefully removed the soil balls from the pots. The gentle hands of a woman who had so desperately longed to be a mother were now tenderly cradling the roots of these fragile young plants. She gently placed the climbing rose roots into the holes and piled the soil back in, patting it down firmly while whispering as if soothing a child. "You guys have to root down really deep in here, okay? Grow up strong and hold on tight to that wooden arch. Bloom the most gorgeous flowers to make our home beautiful." She used small pieces of jute twine to carefully tie the soft rose stems so they hugged the ironwood pillars. Branch by branch, she coaxed them upward toward the arch. Toan carried buckets of crystal-clear well water and drenched the freshly planted soil. As the water soaked into the ground, it released that distinct, earthy and pure scent of life coming back to life. Once the climbing roses were planted, DM meticulously squatted down again, planting each daisy and petunia, seedling in a crescent shape, hugging the base of the gate. The gentle spring sunlight shone down, dancing across DM's cheeks, flushed from the hard work. Looking at her now, she was no longer the withered, exhausted look from the past few months. Connecting with the earth, the plants, and these new sprouts of life acted like an invisible healing medicine, patching up the cracks in her soul. Watching his wife carefully planting seeds, her eyes sparkling with focus and hope, Tone leaned against the jackfruit tree, smiling in deep satisfaction. He knew that deciding to build this floral gate was the smartest choice he'd made. He couldn't bring their child back, but he could create a different nursery of life for DM to care for with her own hands, giving her a place to pour out her boundless love. On the 3rd day of the project, everything was completely finished. The sun slowly set behind the mountains, dyeing the entire sky over Sim Hill in a fiery, brilliant red. The evening light reflected off the chestnut-brown ironwood gate, highlighting the lush green climbing rose vines, reaching up to cling to the wooden arch. At the base of the pillars, the first daisy buds were shyly beginning to bloom. Tuan and DM washed their hands, then stepped back together, standing in the middle of the cobblestone path to take in the full view of their masterpiece. The gate stood majestic and rock-solid against the landscape, yet it had an incredibly romantic beauty, thanks to the curling green shoots. It looked as beautiful as a picture straight out of a fairy tale. Suddenly, an evening breeze swept by. The wooden gate gave a soft, pleasing rattle, and the young leaves of the climbing roses rustled as if they were singing. Diem leaned her whole body against Toan's broad shoulder. She took a deep breath of the fresh mountain air, feeling an unusual lightness in her chest. "It's so beautiful, Toan," Diem whispered, her voice finally regaining its natural clarity. "You were right. No matter how painful the past is when this gate closes, we still have to keep living. I'll take really good care of this rose arch. I believe that when the very first flowers bloom and cover this whole archway, our little angel looking down from heaven will be proud and smile." Toan turned, wrapping both arms securely around his wife's waist and pulling her tight against his chest. He leaned down and pressed a deep, passionate kiss to her forehead, a kiss filled with total appreciation, gratitude, and a promise to always protect her. "Absolutely, sweetheart." Tone's voice was hoarse with emotion. "This floral arch will grow up to be as vibrant and resilient as you are. Everyone stumbles in life. Everyone falls into dark, deep holes sometimes. But as long as we don't let go of each other, as long as we still dare to dig the earth and plant seeds with our own hands, then no winter lasts forever. Our spring, our happiness, begins again right here at this gate." Amidst the breathtakingly beautiful sunset, two thin but courageous figures held each other tight. They stood there in front of the wooden gate named Hope, quietly listening to their own heartbeats, syncing with the breath of the earth and sky. The wounds in their souls had begun to heal over, and tomorrow when the sun woke up, the first climbing roses would reach out to catch the sunlight, proving a love that had weathered countless storms and trials by fire was now reborn, shining brighter than any jewel in the world. Dear friends, today's episode truly is a wonderful healing medicine for all of our souls. Toan and Diem working together to split wood, dig holes, build a gate, and plant flowers wasn't just about decorating their home. It was a deeply psychological healing journey. They used physical hardship and the sweat falling on the dirt to wash away the sorrow and depression in their hearts. The sturdy wooden gate represents the husband's protection, while the vibrant climbing rose arch represents the wife's love and fierce vitality. As long as there is unity, people can build a marvel of happiness out of the most shattered pieces. As time goes by, when this archway is overflowing with the pink shades of fairy roses, Sim Hill will undoubtedly welcome new and brilliant miracles. What wonderful surprise do you think will knock on Tone and Diem's door in the months to come? Leave a congratulatory message for this couple's powerful rebirth in the comments section below. If this episode touched your heart, please hit like and subscribe to the channel to keep joining us on this journey of planting the seeds of happiness. Wishing you all a very peaceful and warm evening with your families.